This is question number 4 of homework 10 for chapter 10. You're considering 3 independent projects. Project A, B, and C, given the free cash flow information in the pop-up window. Calculate the payback period for each. If you require a 3-year payback before an investment can be accepted, which projects would be accepted? So um, there are two assumptions for the cash flows. One is that we are receiving the cash flow only by the end of the year. So if that is the assumption, then the payback period has to be an integer number. But by default, actually, we assume that cash flows are received evenly within the year. So that means every day we're going to receive a equal amount of cash flows, and then the total sum will be the what would be reported as the cash flow for a given year. So that's the default assumption. And with that in mind, we can calculate sort of the fractional number of years for the payback period. So that's what I'm going to do. And then we can open this in Excel, and that can facilitate the calculation. It turns out somehow the project information is not copied. You can see that project N, project B, and project C does not appear on the Excel sheet. So I'm going to add that information manually. So to calculate the payback period for each project, I'm going to do the cumulative balance calculation. For cumulative balance for A will simply be I sum up the cumulative cash flows for all the years for a given year. For example, cumulative balance for year 1 is the sum of the initial cash outlay and the year 1's cash flow. And cumulative balance for year 2 will be the sum of all these 3 years cash flows, year 2, year 1, and the initial outlay, and so on and so forth. So that's the cumulative balance. And for the starting year, that's gonna be the same as the initial outlay. And starting from the year 1, I'm gonna do this summation equals sum, and then I'm gonna start from the initial outlay, and then end until year 1. But I can close this for this particular year, and the number will be correct. But I want to do a tweak here because later on I want to drag the cell all the way down to the last row, to the last year. So Excel will automatically calculate this cumulative balance for me. And in order to do that, I'm going to fix this cell value B2, which is the starting initial outlay. I'll leave this B3 as something that can be can change when I drag the cell in Excel. So this won't affect year 1's cumulative balance, but now you can see the effect. When I drag the cell to the last year, and for example, for year 2, you can see this becomes sum of B2, still starting from B2, which is the initial cash outlay, and that's what I want, and to B4, which is year 2's cash flow. And for year 3, it's going to be B2 to B5, and so on and so forth. So from this summation cumulative balance, we can see that the cash flows switch sign between year 1 and year 2. So that means the payback period has to be somewhere between year 1 and year 2. And then the next step is to calculate precisely the fractional number of years within year 2 for the cash flow to just cover the cumulative balance by the end of the year 1. So that's the break-even point. And that's how the payback period is defined. And in order to do that, I'm gonna use the negative of this cumulative balance by the end of the year one. Why do I use negative? Because that's how much I need from year two's cash flow in order to break even. And then because for year two, there's total of $300 to be received over the entire year. So I'm gonna use how much I need to break even and divide that by the total amount of cash flows within the year, and that will give me the fractional number of years uh, for uh, for the project to pay back the initial cash outlay. So because this is only the fractional years, fractional number of years within year two, so in order to calculate, so let me just title this fractional year in the payback year. So that's what this means. And now I can calculate payback period for A. And that will be simply equal to 1, right? Because as I said, the payback period is 1 plus, is somewhere between 1 and 2. And that somewhere actually is pinned down by this fractional number of years. So I just need to add 1 on top of that in order to calculate this payback period. And then just go back and check my rounding requirement. This is round 2 decimal places. So I can just format the cell and just choose keep the number and decimal places 2. So that's what I want, 1.83. And now check my answer. We're down. Now, since this is less than the 3-year cutoff payback period, so we should accept project A. All right, this is less than or equal to. So check my answer. So now let's continue to project B. We can follow the similar steps from calculating the payback period for project A to that to do the same for project B. So we can sort of just copy these columns and then just change this to be B, and this payback period, this is B. So, and this is, I want to change this to be C, right, from C2, and still keep the dollar sign because I want to fix that sale value. And this is from C3. And now I can drag the cell all the way down. Just double check to see that this is actually what I want. Yes. Okay, so the fractional number of years, in this case, actually you can see that there's no fractional number of years because by the end of the year 2, you can see the cumulative balance is exactly equal to 0. So that means my payback period has to be 2, right? In this case, it's gonna be 2. Because by the end of year 2, it's just covers the initial outlay. So this is 2, and check my answer. And we're down again. This is we should accept, right? Because this is lower than the cutoff payback period. And continue to project C. Do that just similarly for to what we did earlier for both project. Just change the project number. So yes, so actually this doesn't affect the result, but I'm just gonna fix this anyway. So this equals to the initial cash outlay of project C, and this will be D, right? D to D2 to D3. And again, I fixed the sale value of this is D, not C, D of the initial outlay. And then I can now drag the cell all the way down to the last row. And now you can see that the cumulative cash balance switch signs between year 2 and year 3. So that means the break-even point is actually at year 3. But what is the fractional number of years there? Again, following the same method we used to calculate the fractional number of years for project A, I can just put a negative sign in front of this cumulative balance by the end of year 2 and use that to divide the total cash balance, total cash flows for year 3. So that can give me the fractional number of years within year 3 in order to break even. So the final payback period is simply 2, right? Because the actual payback period is within 2 and 3, and this fractional number of years simply gives us precisely how much within year 3 will be necessary to break even. So I just add 2 on top of that, and that gives me the final payback period. So I'm gonna format the cell, or you can just do that manually, right? It's very easy. So just the 2.625 will be rounded up to 2.63. So that's gonna be 2.63. All right, check my answer and we're done. And again, we should accept this project because this is also less than or equal to the maximum acceptable payback period. And check my answer. And